Seeing the way that people drink past their limit, get belligerently drunk, and then black out and start doing God knows what, that's what literally leads to the anxiety. Do not let it be a game day, because there are people who are drinking from sun up to sundown, waking up and doing the exact same thing. Your liver, oh my God. When you're like, I don't remember any of that. Yeah, it's because a spirit literally took over your body because you were so drunk and so like on the line of being in the astral realm and, you know, the present world here. You're playing with so many entities and so many spirits. They're like, oh, she's vulnerable. Boom, I can take over her body. And that's exactly why you don't remember anything when you get blacked out drunk. And y'all are gonna look at me crazy because I want to spark up some weed? No, thank you. A plant that grows naturally from the earth, unlike all those synthetic ass drugs, I'm good. Jumbo everyone, welcome back, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about college creates alcoholics and anxiety isn't worth it. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while because I think a lot of people get away with secretly being an alcoholic in college, and they have reasons to be so. Now, this is coming from someone who used to go to a state school. I used to go to the University of Minnesota, and from what I've seen, from even being on like the University of Minnesota 2025 page and just people that I was peers with, it's very interesting to see how easily it can be to become an alcoholic while being in college. I also just want to preface this video that I personally do not drink. The only drinking that I do is if I'm on vacation, I'll maybe take 1 or 2 shots, but just from the things that I've seen, my personal beliefs with being spiritual and seeing the effects of alcohol, I choose to not partake. That doesn't mean to say that I don't do anything else. I am California sober. I do smoke, and as someone who has smoked since I was basically 16 years old, I don't see a negative effect on me as a person. Can I be lazy sometimes? Yes. But also, does weed help with my motivation and depression? Yes. So therefore, as somebody who doesn't take medication, who is on the dean's list, gets all my homework done, does YouTube, edits, goes to work, I'm, I guess, a functional stoner, a high functional, productive stoner. And there's no shame in that because there's people like me who smoke before they go to the gym and smoke before they do things, and they're still a very highly productive person. Sometimes can I get dependent on it? Yes. But I'm not gonna lie, I do view it as a medication because I was once prescribed my med card. So therefore, I don't put as much pressure on myself like, you can't smoke, you can't do this and that. Babes, if you're gonna edit after or just finished editing a long YouTube video, you just had a long day at work and you want to smoke some weed, go a fucking head. I'm not gonna judge you. But in this video, we're focusing on alcoholics. Let's talk about how colleges can create alcoholics and how that can lead to the anxiety. Let's just think about the college scene in general. You have a lot of freshly 18, 19, sometimes even 20-year-olds, especially women. They have their fakes, and if they live on campus, there are bars left and right. And if they have those fakes, you know, they're checking it, okay, go, because that's how they make their money. And that's something they don't want to admit. A lot of these college bars make their money off of underage drinkers. I have seen so many people who are not of age in bars, and they're able to get in it because their fake is just really that good. With being in school, you can create your own schedule. And depending on what your major is, especially someone who was more of like a liberal arts kind of major, we never had classes on Fridays. So somebody who has class Monday through Thursday, if you really want to go and wind down on Thursday, or what do they call it, Tipsy Thursday, you can go out to the bar. Therefore, that's where we see people going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes even Sunday night. Oh my God. I literally cannot imagine going out like that. And as somebody who works at a club, who is around drunk people, you know, 1 to 2 times a week, I just be like, what? Seeing the way that people drink past their limit, get belligerently drunk, and then black out and start doing God knows what, that's what literally leads to the anxiety.
Sometimes when people give you advice, you need to believe them. I have been told on such a regular basis throughout my adolescence, before I reached the legal drinking age, people with ADHD should not drink alcohol. And I never listened. And for that reason, now at 21, I am giving up drinking forever. I am not an alcoholic in any sense of the word. I don't crave alcohol. I don't drink at home. I don't drink alone. I don't really even go out for drinks. Alcohol is not a main character in my life. But what it is a destroyer of things in my life. It's a destroyer of happiness in my life. Because although I don't have an alcohol addiction, I have an alcohol problem in the sense that I don't have a limit once I pick up that first cup. And most people who are not neurodivergent will know that you already struggle with impulse as a neurodivergent person sober. Adding alcohol to that is not helping anybody ever. The ADHD brain lacks dopamine, and when you drink, the dopamine in your brain goes up. The second you stop drinking, though, it starts to fall back down. And then the drinks are like all of a sudden absolutely needed by your brain. You're like, oh my gosh, I need another drink. I need another drink. I need another drink. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Because you want to stay on that dopamine high. But then what happens with me is now I've had my second drink, my third drink, my fourth drink, my fifth drink. And it's just disaster fuel, because all of your symptoms as a person with ADHD are completely amplified once you drink. So now I'm more reactive, more impulsive, more emotional, and it's just not needed at all. Pairing that with the fact that as an ADHD person, I'm more prone to anxiety and sensitivity towards what people think about me. The anxiety that I wake up with in the morning after a night out needs to be studied in a lab. I know 21 is really young to say that you're giving up alcohol, especially as a university student, but I just feel like the person that I turn into when I drink is not reflective of who I actually am, and I don't like it. And you can only refer to yourself as a victim of circumstance when you don't know the circumstances. But I know the circumstances. I know that my ADHD does not mix well with alcohol and that I shouldn't drink. So if I continue to drink, I start to become at fault, and I don't want to be at fault. I don't need alcohol to have a good time. I don't need alcohol to bond with people. I have a lot of friends. I have a very good social life sober, and I feel like I can continue to have that social life sober. And this is not to say that my circumstances apply to everybody, because there are loads of neurodivergent people and loads of people with ADHD who will be able to live the rest of their lives drinking more comfortably than I do. But I know that for me personally, the way it affects me, I cannot continue like this. So I've got to throw in the towel. I'm retiring.
Within the area that I live, because I do basically live in College Town, especially how they're gentrifying the area. With living in a college town, the places that I'm at in like a 2-3 mile radius, if you know anything about Dinkytown, there's Blarney's and then like another bar like closer. And then to talk about it too, we don't talk about these frats throwing their parties. I know they don't throw parties, but like throwing parties, there's alcohol there, people getting drunk, especially like don't let it be a game day. Oh my God. Do not let it be a game day, because there are people who are drinking from sun up to sundown, waking up and doing the exact same thing. Your liver, oh my God, your liver is screaming at you, please drink water, and you just keep drinking liquor.
Anyone else who's like not an alcoholic in college, like meaning that like you don't drink at all, like that's definitely me, that's definitely my vibe. Are you guys also like disgusted by like the fact that like, I don't know, it just really bothers me the way that y'all be going out 4 days a week just getting toe up. How do you like function? And it's not even a function thing for me. It's like, ugh, it just gives me the major ick. Like, you don't like being able to control yourself, your thoughts, your speech, the way that you behave. Like, you got me messed up if you get recording me in the middle of the street on a Lime scooter and I get hit by a car and it's literally my fault. Like, excuse me? Absolutely no.
So like I said, like the area that I live in, like there are bars back to back to back. And of course students want to get their most bang for their buck. So they're going to bar hop. And let's be real as well, a lot of students drink to socially fit in. I have never been a drinker. You offered me a drink? No, thank you. No, thank you. There's this funny ass TikTok where it was like when you're the stoner of the friend group and it's like everybody's trying to drink and you're like, where's the lighter? Where's the lighter? And don't let me be a little bit crossed where like, you know, like I said, I'll take, you know, a shot and call it a day. But what? all I want to do when I'm under the influence is I just want to drink. And whenever I drink, I've never been like just tipsy alone. There's some weed mixed in there, okay? Because I'm never just gonna drink alone. Like, what? That sounds so depressing. So I'm always gonna either have like a cart, smoke a joint before, because that's how you're supposed to do it, especially if you plan on getting crossed. So that's where I'm looking at all these college students like, oh my God, all you're doing is drinking. Like, and then, you know, if you do smoke, you're smoking on top of that. Jesus Christ. Like, doesn't that give you the spins? That's where I feel like a lot of students who are in college, who are stoners, we look at alcohol like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Because I don't need it. Like I said, I don't even know how y'all function when you have class the next day. Are you okay? So that's where I can also see like the effect that it can start to have. People are drinking, and they're drinking very like normally and heavily almost too. And on top of that, they go to class or they start skipping class. Their grades start to plunder because, like I said earlier, this is college. If you're not living with your parents and you're living on campus or in your own apartment and you get to do whatever you want, sometimes homework is not always going to want to be your priority. You're going to want to doom scroll. You're going to want to go out and drink and have fun with your friends, even though, babes, you got all that homework to finish. So that's where I'm just like, what are your priorities? Drinking and having fun, or finishing your homework and getting your education?
Hey guys, I'm Riley. I'm an alcoholic, and I was an around-the-clock drinker, meaning which every morning I woke up, drank throughout the day until I blacked out, passed out, and then would wake up and do it all over again. And what's crazy is that when I was in college, I remember thinking to myself, like, my drinking's bad, but, you know, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink, like, first thing in the morning. Mind you, at this point in college, like, Saturday and Sunday, we would have day parties. I would wake up at 9 a.m. We would drink mimosas and then go to like hard liquor and like beer and whatever throughout the entire day. And I would tell myself like, that's just college. That's what people do in college. And it is. People do that in college. They danger, they do whatever. But you know what's funny is like, I was different. My drinking was different. Like my friends throughout the day could pace themselves. And there were days that I could pace myself, but few and far in between. But my friends could pace and they could moderate and they could say, you know, oh, I'm still, you know, working on this drink. Like, I'm good. Any alcohol that was put in front of me, I would consume it. There was never a time that I can genuinely think of where I was like, no, I'm good. That was not in my practice. And I just remember being like, you know, I don't drink around the clock, therefore I'm not an alcoholic. And then it got to a point where like we were day drinking sometimes during the week. And, you know, maybe it looks like out of a 7-day week, I'm drinking during the day and at night 4 out of the 7 days in the week. But I wasn't doing it every day. And then when I got to of legal age to buy alcohol for myself, that is when I was like, why can't I day drink alone? And I would go and maybe get like some shooters and make myself a mixed drink and just sip it in my room, or put it in like a Stanley type cup and drink it by myself and just be sitting on the couch at my like college house. And I would do that. And you know what introduced me to that thought was like, I 420'd all the time. First thing, wake and bake all throughout the day, well into the evening. I needed it to go to sleep. And I had this thought like, well, if I do that, like alcohol's cheaper, it's easier to get. Like, why don't I just do that? Like, if I'm going to be fucked up one way or another, like, I don't see what's wrong with like drinking during the day. I mean, I already 420 during the day. They're pretty much the same thing. There's just so many times when I think back to like my college drinking and like even my mid 20s, like my drinking was just completely out of control, and it got out of control so quickly. I went from, you know, just being this problematic college drinker to an around the clock drinker within like the span of a year and a half. Less than that. It's just I have trouble remembering because my brain was mush because I was drinking and using so many different substances. But you can be an alcoholic in college. I was an alcoholic in college. It just had not, you know, completely gotten on all four wheels and taken off, you know? And I say all of this to say that, you know, a lot of the messages and DMs that I get are from college age girls who are trying to figure out whether or not their drinking is problematic or not. And to that I say, like, I can't diagnose you with alcoholism, but if you are wondering whether your drinking is a problem or not, you have, I think, the answer to that question within the question itself. And you should explore that. I'm not telling you that you have to get sober or you have to like change your whole life. But I think if you're reaching out to me and saying, hey, this is what my drinking looks like, do you think that I'm an alcoholic? I think that if you're even asking yourself that, then maybe you should explore that, you know? And there's nothing wrong with being an alcoholic. Like, it is a disease. It is a fucking disease, and it sucks, and I get it. And I think I have radical acceptance today. Like, I am at peace with the fact that I'm an alcoholic, and I understand that, you know, not everybody's there yet, and that's also okay. I lived in denial for a very, very, very long time. A very long time. And denial protected my disease. My disease wanted me to keep drinking. And I lived in denial. But I would have moments of clarity, y'all. Even in college, where I would say, this is not normal. There's just no way this is normal. Because why are all of my friends asleep and it's 4 a.m. and I need something to go to bed right now. I need it. I have to have it. I will do whatever it takes. I will eat a fucking spoonful of nutmeg if that's going to put me to sleep. And that was just weighing on me because I want to help so many people, and I want, you know, to get people to where I'm at. Maybe not where I'm at, right? I've been struggling the past month, just like mental health, but like I want to get people to a place of healing and a place where, you know, they can have a beautiful and wonderful life. You deserve to have a beautiful and wonderful life. I love you so much. I hope that this helped one person, and if it did, then I've done my job for the week. All right, I love you.
Don't get me wrong, you can do both. There is definitely a balance that should be had. You shouldn't always be work, and no play at all. But you also shouldn't be play, and no work at all, because how do you expect to actually go somewhere in life if all you're worried about is drinking? And that's another thing that I want to talk about is a lot of students don't understand that they're neurodivergent until they get to college, until they have like, you know, some more resources that they never would have had wherever they were. So for some people, when it comes to drinking, they take it to a whole other level. Some people drink, and a lot of them don't want to talk about this, but to numb the trauma that they have.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm 28. I'm an alcoholic, and one of my most commonly asked questions is, how did you know that it was time for you to stop drinking? Truth is, I knew for years before I got sober that I did not have a good relationship with alcohol. When I started drinking in college, it became apparent to me very, very quickly that I didn't drink for the same reasons other people drank, right? So people around me, I felt like they drank to be social and go out and have fun. For me, I drank to escape. I drank because the noise in my head was so incredibly loud and my self-hatred ran so deep that the only way I knew how to shut off all the noise was to drink, because that numbed me emotionally and it allowed me to get out of my head. I often say that I'm reticent sometimes to tell my story because it's not exciting. I don't have like this really juicy, crazy, wild tale of active addiction, but I know that's even more reason to share it because I think that lack of consequences, that lack of hitting like some really huge rock bottom, for lack of a better term, kept me drinking for a really long time. In some ways, I feel like I was positively rewarded, right? Like I got amazing grades in college. I had a big friend group. I was in a sorority. I had like this huge social life. But what happened behind closed doors was just this like deep, dark depression, all of these really just, dark thoughts, and feeling incredibly isolated, even in a room full of people. And for the 8 years that I was in active addiction, like I said before, there weren't these huge consequences. I got myself into dangerous situations, and there were definitely really bad nights, mornings that I woke up with these horrible hangovers and all this regret, like that classic anxiety. But to me, it was the fear of drinking and what would happen to me if I were drinking was so much smaller than the fear of never being able to have alcohol again. I think that's the best way I know how to describe addiction, is that your fear of losing access to the substance, to the thing that numbs you and makes you feel like you, is so much scarier than any sort of consequence that alcohol could give you. What I didn't realize when I was in active addiction is that I was under the impression, right, that drinking gave me confidence. And I think in a lot of ways it did. It was a false confidence, to be certain, but it gave me this feeling of, okay, I can actually be in my body, I can be social around people, I can stand myself. But what was really happening over time is that I was chipping away at my confidence. Nobody else but me was doing that. I was making decisions that were ones that I would wake up the next morning and just feel so ashamed of myself. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I chose to date people that were not right for me, and a lot of choosing the wrong people was because it fed into this narrative I had of being a victim, and that if you had been through the same situations and circumstances I had been in life, like, you would drink like me. And then I think also, and this is one I talk about all the time, but this total inability to keep promises to myself and others, right? Because I would have all of these grand plans, let's say for a Saturday or a Sunday, and I would, I was like going to show up for my friends and my family and work out, like, all, it doesn't matter what it was, big or small. It didn't matter because Friday night I was out, and then by Saturday morning I felt so horrible, so awful, so full of shame, so anxious that I couldn't go anywhere or do anything, and I was constantly breaking promises to myself. And I think if I can, give you any glimpse into what the best parts of sobriety are and how it just completely alters your relationship with yourself and others, it's because you are able to finally be the person that I think you want to be in your mind the whole time.
And that is why drinking to me is so scary, because of the effects that it can have. Alcohol poisoning, even just like drunk driving and the implications that can happen with that. Don't get me started on drunk drivers, because if you drunk drive and you literally know that you shouldn't be driving, but I've done it before and I got home safe. This is why you got them whiskey plates, because you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. That's where I'm also just like, people who drink, and I know that there's gonna be people where they're like, well, if you drive and you're high, it's completely different. Babes, I'm like 10 times more focused, if anything. And I know they're gonna be like, your reaction time slower and all these other excuses, but you literally cannot compare smoking, especially people who have had their med cards and drive while high, or just people who have smoked for a lot of years and they know their limits and they know what they're able to do and what they're not able to do. Drunk drivers are a lot more easier to catch than it is somebody driving high off of weed. So that's just my opinion. And if you're a drunk driver, you're disgusting, and order a fucking $20 Uber. This is also what Leo was talking about in her song. What song is it? Because this is gonna drive me crazy. It's her song where she's talking, is it Dignified? Leo has a song on her album Who Did the Body where she basically talks about drunk driving and, getting behind the wheel. She sees all her friends are drunk, and so she just like takes one for the team, but then they end up all dying because of drunk driving. And she's like, girl, if you don't take that goddamn Uber. And that's what I have to say to a lot of people, because it's like, why are you driving drunk? Do you know the amount of people that you are putting in harm's way because you want to be selfish, because you think that you can drink and drive? Look at all the casualties that have happened from drinking and driving versus smoking weed. Let's be real. This is also basically what I've talked about in the ghettoification of marijuana, and kind of like putting a negative connotation on anyone who smokes weed. But like, the normalization of alcohol is actually so crazy to me. Even though it does so many worse things, people just accept it. They're just like, okay, yeah. Like I said, going out 3 to 4 times a week, drinking, how is that healthy? That is not healthy at all. So that's where it's like maybe 1 to 2 times, but every single weekend, babes, where are the hobbies? Where are like the other things that bring you fulfillment, rather than being a people pleaser and drinking around other people when you don't even want to go out like that? But once the liquor hits your system, you're all talkative and you're having the best time. But then that leads me into anxiety. So anxiety is basically the anxiety that you have during a hangover and wondering all the crazy things that you did while you were drunk. A lot of people have reasons for why they drink. Maybe, like I said, it's for social reasons, or they just want to let loose a little bit, get a little bit tipsy. But another part that isn't talked about is people who drink to get blacked out, and people who drink to numb things that they are feeling within themselves. For people who are, again, neurodivergent or just are suffering some type of trauma, this can be the escape. They can be like, wow, I don't feel any pain. And this is the exact feeling that they could have been chasing for, which is why they will continue to drink. So then they get blackout drunk, and when they come to it, they literally cannot believe the things that they've done while they were drunk. This is where I like to use this example of people who get drunk and then cheat on their partners or do things that they weren't supposed to do. And I think it's because, personally, this is my opinion. Again, it's an opinion, but as somebody who is spiritual and can see the spiritual effects of alcohol, this originally was for Native Americans and to get them drunk into signing over land and signing over treaties. That's how I originally look at alcohol, because that's the root of where it came from. So just knowing that that's already the intention, and then knowing that like when people get drunk and they get blackout and they start doing things that they would never normally do, you're an angry drunk, or just like I said, things that you don't normally do, that's where I start to believe that like spirits have taken over your body, and that is where you don't remember. You get blacked out drunk, people are like, yeah, you were shaking ass, you were kissing all these men, da-da-da. And that's what anxiety is, being embarrassed about the things that you did the night before. And when you're like, I don't remember any of that, yeah, it's because a spirit literally took over your body. body because you were so drunk and so like on the line of being in the astral realm and, you know, the present world here. You're playing with so many entities and so many spirits. They're like, oh, she's vulnerable. Boom, I can take over her body. And that's exactly why you don't remember anything when you get blacked out drunk.
Guys! She's joshing us. Oh.
This is also where I talked about in my video, doctors are your first drug dealers, suffer through different things, and the only way that they can find ways to cope, to not feel pain, is to drink, and that's one of them. College students who have been tamping everything down for so long and they're finally on their own, they're finally in a space where they can actually think about the things that they've gone through. That can be a period of time where they allow themselves to process things that they probably would have never processed before. So like, it's just like this weird feeling of, oh my God, like this is so many things. And then they will want to numb it with drinking. It's scary that people can get blackout drunk, but they literally look coherent and they're talking to you, having full conversations. That is not that person. And that's why anxiety scares me, because what do you mean I did this and that last night? No, thank you. I think another aspect that is kind of overlooked is the fact that when you go into corporate America, what's happy hour? That's when a whole bunch of people from corporate America go get discounted drinks, discounted food, and that is another way to keep them consuming alcohol, because a lot of people can use that as an excuse. Oh, I'm gonna go get happy hour on Monday, Wednesday, Friday after work because like they have really cheap food and they also have really cheap drinks. That leads you to just sipping 1-2 drinks. That leads you to sipping multiple drinks over a week time. And that's where it starts to be like, okay, babe, this is starting to become an issue.
Something that no one prepares you in corporate America is the amount of drinking culture that it is to be able to get promoted. When I started corporate America, like I was like very like naive from my college years because girl, I was on a budget and I was just trying to get. And in corporate America, like you kind of have to be like a level of like elitism when you're going to drink with your coworkers, and every single like networking celebration is really rooted in just like drinking. Someone got promoted, happy hour. Someone wants to have a team bonding, happy hour. Like what's what people always wanted to do, happy hours for every single little thing. And I think like the more that you kind of like get used to just like understanding it, you don't have to fully participate in it, but just knowing the culture will really give you a heads up and like moving into corporate America. Like I remember when I was like starting off, like I didn't know anything about cocktails, like to be honest. And I thought mint mojitos like had not tequila, but vodka. And it just made me look so like I didn't know anything. And I think if you really want to succeed, you kind of have to learn how to play the game and go to those happy hours. Even if you don't drink, just get a little appetizer to get the opportunities and network with people.
Hey, just a quick reminder that you were actually more drunk and annoying at that work happy hour than you remember. Yeah, no, people are like talking about it still. They have separate group chats about it. It like comes up all the time when you're not around. So just want to make sure that you remember that the damage you created that night is irreversible. And yeah, it will probably affect your career forever. So just don't forget that.
That's where I'm saying it's overlooked, because it's like you're transitioning from college, going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, to now going to happy hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and still consuming the same amount of alcohol. But it's not that big of a deal because, you know, you just had a really hard day at work and you want to go get a couple of drinks, and nothing's wrong with that. But when it's multiple times a week, babe, it is a problem. I think the normalization of alcohol is way too prominent. And that's why I made the video, the ghettoification of marijuana, because like when you look at Black people smoking weed, like they're ghetto, this and this and that, but Canna Moms is okay. But again, even drinking, like we've seen the effects of women who drink while pregnant, fetal alcohol syndrome, exactly what I talked about in my Krishan video. And in this instance, how many people have died with alcohol versus how many people have died with weed? Thank you. So like I said, there are so many negative aspects to drinking alcohol, and as normalized as it is, I think that's why I don't really care about if I smoke online or showing that I'm smoking weed, because people smoke cigarettes, people vape, people snort coke, people drink alcohol, and y'all are gonna look at me crazy because I want to spark up some weed? No, thank you. A plant that grows naturally from the earth, unlike all those synthetic ass drugs, I'm good. So y'all can judge me all you want, but like I said, if you're a college student, maybe it's a good idea to put the drink down. Maybe it's a good idea that you don't have to go out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday just to have friends. You can have friends that have similar interests than you, or even just like ask your friend group, guys, do we have to go out every weekend? Because then you also start to realize you're only going out just so you can look for boys and feel kind of like satisfied that, you know, you have a cute outfit on, you get a little liquor in your system, you're feeling a little bit loose. And then again, you have that anxiety from doing things that you would have never done while sober. And that's exactly why I don't drink. Anyways, I think I've heard enough people's feelings. People are probably in the comments like, you fucking dumbass bitch. I digress because it's just an opinion. Anyways, like I said, I think I've yapped long enough. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, y'all.